foreign affairs, we have troops all over the world. We have troops in nations that can clearly defend themselves, Japan, Germany, places like that. Do we still need troops in that country? And is it constitutional as well to be sending those troops all around the world? And I'll start with you, Senator Santorum.
Well, yes, of course it's constitutional if it's consistent with defending the interests of our country. Second, the two countries you mentioned where the largest troop deployments are, Germany and Japan, are countries that made pledges not to rearm as a result of the events of World War II. And there was a decision made by our country and the world generally that things would be better without a militarized Germany and a militarized Japan. If we make the decision to change that dynamic, then I'll turn it over to the history professor to talk to you about what the consequences of that might be. So my feeling is that the wars that we are going to be fighting and the challenges that we're going to be facing require the United States to be able to respond quickly from forward deployed bases to be able to address the contingencies that are going to come about. And we can't just do it by having a Navy that's floating out at sea. We have to have basing, we have to have structure, we have to have, for example, if you look at the war that we're engaged in Iraq and Afghanistan, you know, having the facilities in Germany has been essential for us to be able to conduct that war. Particularly a country that is a stable ally that we don't have to worry about, like Turkey or Saudi Arabia, that being involved in the region could be problematic as far as even flying aircraft out there. So there is a need to have that capability around the world, and as again going back to the two things I mentioned, a need to be there to provide to two areas of the world. I mean, Central Europe and the Pacific Rim, where you have the threat of the potential threat of Russia and the potential threat of China, that are, in China's case, becoming even a little bit more ominous. I mean, we now decided we're going to start opening up bases in Australia because of the concern for China and exercising its will in the South China Sea and in that area of the world. So we need to have that forward deployment for all of those reasons.
And I'd like to ask you the same question, Mr. Speaker, but I'd also like to add on the caveat, should the executive be allowed to make those decisions unilaterally, as we've seen with the Obama administration in places like Libya and other parts of the world?
Well, let me break this into three parts because it's gotten more complicated with that last piece. First of all, as Rick said, and I agree with him, it's clearly constitutional for the President and the Congress to make decisions about national security which involve the projection of power. It's important to remember that the most frugal administration in American history, the Jefferson administration, in which Jefferson, for example, vetoed building a toll bridge over the Potomac River on the grounds that it'll be done by private enterprise. It was not the government's job. Did two things that I always tell friends with slightly tongue-in-cheek, that I'm prepared to be a Jeffersonian conservative. One of them is captured in the Marine Corps hymn, where it talks about the shores of Tripoli, because he sent U.S. Navy and the Marine Corps to North Africa, which back then was a long way. The other was he bought half of a continent. And I always tell people with the Louisiana Purchase that I would never do more than Jefferson. So I mean, the Constitution in that sense allows the Congress and the President, if they're in agreement, to do some things that are quite remarkable. I probably am a little tougher than Rick is about current deployments for two reasons. One is historic and the other is technological. Technologically, if you looked out over the next 25 years and you decided you wanted to project power with the most advanced possible systems, you could in fact provide guarantees with an amazingly high percentage of your strength either coming in space or coming from the continental United States. I mean, we launch out of Missouri V2s that go virtually anywhere in the world by refueling. And so there are a lot of pieces to what you can do if you're serious about it. Historically, there's a great story that in 1940 after Dunkirk, when the British were really desperately short of manpower, they went around and looked at every element where they could somehow become more efficient at using their troops. And they discovered that every cannon had a fifth person who stood at attention at the back of the cannon while it was being fired. And the other four were loading the cannon, aiming the cannon, and this fifth person stood there. And they tried to figure out, why is there 20% of the artillery unit standing at attention? Well, it turned out that was the person who held the horses. And when they went to motorized artillery, it hadn't occurred to them that you didn't need the horse holder anymore. So I helped in 1981, at the peak of the Reagan buildup, I helped found the Military Reform Caucus on the grounds that while I'm a hawk, I'm a cheap hawk. And I would say we could go through and scrub the systems around the world, and we would be sort of surprised how much stuff is out there that you don't need to have out there, and how many ways you could actually rethink what you're doing. But it would require the bureaucracies being forced to think for what? Because their natural tendency, and it's legitimate, their natural tendency is to cling to everything on the grounds that you don't know if you'll ever need it, and you might not get it back when you need it, therefore don't give it up now. But that can lead you to some reasonably unnecessary expenditures.
GrokTV.